Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation of Call Our Crimes a Work of Art. This will be Part 13, Chapters 27 through 29. Chapter 27. Nato leans back into the shadows of the alley. A few minutes ago, Nijiri went into the Hero Agency. He still can't believe this. Faking the pictures of her death had been easy. All they had to do was get some paint on her. If Togeda hadn't noticed that the clothes that were stained with her blood were clothes that she would never wear, that's his mistake. Momo had been nice enough to make the clothes before they left to deal with their kidnapped senpai. So style hadn't really been a factor, but it had worked out nicely. They fake it for Togeda and take his money, and because Amajiki's offer was so low, they were able to extort Nijiri, bargained her life in exchange for her spying on the hero team. They don't really need her. What with all the more creative thinkers out of the game, leaving only the linear ones, but it was an objective, and Monoma thinks that it can't hurt. He's pretty sure Rogue is planning for a clean sweep, or as many as they can, because collecting favors is not easy going. Oh well, it's only day 2. Plenty of time for them to do more. He knows that soap opera of a hypothetical scenario with their senpais was a test. There were many scenarios they could have done with just the stuff they were given. Kill Togeda and collect from Amajiki, kill Nijiri and ignore Amajiki, kill both and not tell Amajiki about Nijiri. Or even the one they ended up going with, faking Nijiri's death, killing Togeda, and then having her infiltrate the heroes. Izuku had recognized Uraraka's writing style in the ad and had started cackling. It had even scared Shadow Monk. He can't wait till tomorrow when they get to do some of the tougher objectives. Rogue had been poring over his notes on all the hero team looking for the perfect candidates for their plans. He's actually kind of excited. Paladin is actually pretty cool. Mimic hopes the missions he goes on are enough to showcase his ability and get him into the hero corps. But right now, he's stuck waiting for Nijiri to come out and give him a report on the facts of her new job. Oh well. He sees her come out at the same time that the few heroes run out, likely to deal with Artificer. He listens as she tells him everything that was said. They'll check it against the camera they didn't tell her she was wearing. Yanagi, Kendo, Momo, and Hatsume agreed to watch it to make sure there was nothing the boys shouldn't see. Once that's done, Mimic leaves her on the street to head home. Meanwhile, he's traversing the alleyways. They still need to sell a weapon illegally. But to do that, they need to find a buyer. How boring. Either way, he'll play his part. Chapter 28. Hitoshi sighs as his arm drops against his side. On the wall of the city hall is a picture of Rogue spray-painted. It had taken him forever to learn how to do this, painstakingly practicing how to draw this. Rogue had said it didn't need to be good. He just has to vandalize the building, but Rogue is giving it his all in order to get them to victory and to give Hitoshi a chance to get into the hero corps. Of course, Hitoshi wants to give the same amount of energy. Plus, he wants to make up for all those things he had said at the sports festival. He's been around Rogue enough now to know that he was definitely wrong in some of his assumptions. Maybe an apology at the end of this. Hey, you! Hitoshi turns. Shit, it's Pikachu. The electric quirk user steps further into the alley, and Hitoshi puts his hands up. As Pikachu walks past some trash cans, a shadow emerges in the alley behind him, and before he can even call in an arrest, Kororo, Shadow Sorcerer, shoots him in the back of the head. And with that, the hero team is down one more person. That was quite exciting. Perhaps we could catch a few more spiders in this sort of trap. No, we still have a mission to complete. It's time for Phase 2. As they move through the alleys, Hitoshi calls in. Rogue, Paladin here. Shadow Sorcerer and I were caught at the end of Mission Art Project. We took out Pikachu and are returning to base to drop off the equipment before heading out for Project Watergate. No, we're done for the night. The heroes are going to be swarming the place, and I can't afford you all getting caught. I'll take care of Watergate during the wee hours. We're sorry, Rogue. Don't be. Pikachu was incredibly far off his patrol route. I'll have to speak with Hercules Mulligan to see if that was a fluke or a plan. They return back to base, and Shadow Monk gives both of them a pat on the back. Hey, it's okay. It's only day 2, and Monoma performed a few favors. He just needs one more for that objective. Don't look too glum. But we messed up your plan. It's only the end of day 2. I'll go out early in the morning and do Watergate. which will be plenty of time for a bard to do his thing tomorrow. You couldn't have known Kaminari would be so far from his route. Still feels shitty, Hitoshi mutters. I'm not losing a single member of this team. That was the goal I assigned myself on day 1. Besides, if I lose you now, Paladin, day 4's events would not be able to happen. You're instrumental to the mission. Thanks, Rogue, he says softly. Of course, Paladin. Now go to bed. You'll need to be rested tomorrow. Hitoshi nods and heads to bed. Chapter 29. Nemuri fights back laughter as Snipe bangs his head against the desk in front of him when he's filled in after his power nap. How of all the people she could have picked did Uraraka pick Midoriya's spy? He groans. Because she was the best candidate they interviewed, and if Midoriya hadn't gotten to her first, then she would have been the best choice, Hound Dog says. How is he so good at this? I mean, no one could have predicted that whole Big 3 love corner, Nemuri says. She'd had to watch Mirio comfort Tamaki about hiring a hit on one of his partners, the quieter boy feeling guilty, so they let him have a little time with Mirio before the quieter one would have to go back to playing his role. And poor Mirio's body still hasn't been found, not by anyone, despite it still being in his office. I suspect he would have simply gained a favor from someone and used that to send them in as a spy, Yagi says. But Nejire was unique in that 2 members of the hero team would automatically trust her, and thus so would the rest of the team. Exactly. You know, Yagi, you said this was to help Midoriya hone skills that you can't help him with, but you seem to understand his thought process pretty well, Hound Dog says. I can recognize the logistics and strategy and understand how each decision is reached, but my strength is not in that. I can explain young Midoriya's thought process, same as I can for David, Melissa, or Tsukauchi, or could for Mirai. But I'm a straightforward person. Hound Dog seems to settle at that. Okay, so, any thoughts on how the teams are doing? It was nice to see not everything go perfectly for the villain team. If they did everything perfectly, then it couldn't be an exercise, it would be an execution. Isn't that pretty much what this is anyway? No, it's a lesson, Nemuri says. How so? The students need to realize that everything they learn here is important, because otherwise they'll die, Nemuri says. Why was Kaminari so far from his route? I think he got lost. He has trouble retaining information. He does great when he can have the steps laid out for him, but if you make him try to remember the steps, that's where he messes up. He probably put a stop in his patrol directions in a different order and got lost. None of them should have been patrolling alone, but they're short-handed because of how many moves Midoriya made day 1. But he should have called in for backup, even if it was just one person in the alley. It was excellent teamwork, with Kororo remaining hidden while Hitoshi took all the attention. And he did a good job keeping them all on track. And Midoriya did well in reassuring him, even after the postponed second mission. A good leader doesn't beat up a team member for a mistake. He kept calm and was able to make Hitoshi feel better, and give him a chance to retry the objective. Speaking of, why are they breaking into a civilian's house tonight? I don't know. Whose house is it? It seems like it's the PD Commissioner's lawyer's home. Oh, shit. Quite. What in God's name could he be doing in there? I suppose time will tell. They watch Midoriya and Shinso climb into the house, and then a few minutes later, climb out with a few files. Whatever's in those files, they probably mean nothing good. Nemuri is sure of it, as she watches them hand over the file and a flash drive to Izashi. That can only mean trouble. All right, listeners, this concludes Chapter 29 of Call Our Crimes a Work of Art. Chapter 30 will be up next. Hope you all are still enjoying this one, and as always, thank you so much for listening.